Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this week's Cedarville Stories Podcast. I'm Mark Weinstein, and today on the program, I am talking with a new full-time mechanical engineering faculty member who has set the bar high for his students. I'm talking about Dr. Joseph Miller, who joined the faculty this year after a distinguished career with the United States Air Force in Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So let's go to my conversation with Dr. Joseph Miller on this week's Cedarville Stories Podcast. Well, it's great to have you on the program, Joe. Thanks for coming to the studio this summer to do this podcast. And, you know, when I was thinking about your story, the Lord brought you to Cedarville twice, once as a student, one now as an employee. So I want to focus on the student part right now. So as a student at Dayton Christian School, which is nearby, how did he bring you to Cedarville?
So let me start by saying thank you for allowing me to be on here this summer. This is fantastic. Yes, that's a fun story. So maybe we'll sense this as a theme over our time here together. Okay. Cedarville was actually not my first choice as an undergrad. So like you mentioned, I grew up local here, so the Dayton, Ohio area, so it's 30 minutes away. I graduated from Dayton Christian High School in 2002. Wow. And when I was looking at colleges, I knew I wanted to do engineering. Okay. You grow up in Dayton, aviation's everywhere, right? Grew up loving going to the Air Force Museum, seeing planes flying over. And so actually some of the universities I was looking at for my undergrad were places like Purdue University. Great engineering. Absolutely known for that. God also really got a hold of my heart as a junior in high school. And for the first time, I really felt like, well, how can I use engineering for God's glory and to bring others to know him as well? Right, to introduce them to Christ. And combining that with aviation, the first thing that popped up, I had read Through Gates of Splendor by Elizabeth Elliot and Story of Jim Elliot, Nate Saint, and how they used aviation and aerospace in a sense in order to reach the nations for Christ. Right. And that really hit me as a student, as a high school student. And I said, what can I do? And so I actually, my first choice, I had looked at getting a pilot's license. I had looked at potentially going. I think Moody Bible Institute at the time had a mission aviation program, and looked at Missionary Aviation Fellowship and others. And for a while, really thought that that's where God was leading me. And I remember having a conversation with the pastor of our church, and I remember him sitting down and saying, "Well, you know, Joe, you don't have to be a missionary with the term missionary in your name or work for an organization that has missions in its name to still live out the gospel, to still be a witness and a light for him wherever you're at. And if God's calling you to be an engineer, maybe you should go and be an engineer." But I looked at both sides of that and I said, but I want a strong engineering degree, but at the same time, I want to be encouraged in my faith so that it wasn't just me putting on Christianity or putting on the gospel onto other things, but that would really be the center. That would really be the heart of everything I did. And so while Cedarville might not have been my first choice, all of a sudden, boom, here's Cedarville in our backyard. And frankly, had quite a bit of family that had come here. Okay. And maybe I wanted to not be like them. I wanted to go do my own thing. But when I really prayed about it and I really looked at it and I looked at the quality of the engineering education, the quality actually of all the education, whether that's the liberal arts foundation or whether that's the engineering and the biblical and theological studies, the quality is just phenomenal. And then that ability to be in an environment that would really teach me how to put Christ in the center and then let my engineering flow from that. And so that really between my junior and senior year is how God called me the first time to come here to Cedarville University to study mechanical engineering. So when I think about, you mentioned Purdue, obviously Cedarville, where you came. Outside the Christian focus, academically, how similar are the engineering programs? Is there a way to compare? I mean, there's always going to be some differences. I would say that the quality that we have here at Cedarville, I mean, the quality that I experienced when I was a student, the depth, in fact, the rigor in some cases is certainly comparable, if not above and beyond. And that's because of the fact that we have these faculty here. Right. Like yourself now. Like myself now. Yes. I get to be a hard grader or a hard lecturer as well now as well. But when I think about that, you're not trading away quality of the technical discipline. In fact, I would argue that what you're getting is above and beyond because you're now seeing it in a biblical light. You're looking at it from a biblical theological perspective, and you're understanding the purposes of why am I studying engineering? What am I doing with the engineering skills and gifts that God's given me? And I think that actually opens you up to be more creative and allows you to be, frankly, a better engineer, in my opinion, than if you're basing that fully on, let's say, naturalism or something where you're denying the existence of God. You're denying that we're created to be creative beings.
Yeah. So as I studied your academics, not your grades, but your career and your
Thank goodness. I'm glad you don't have access to this.
No, I don't have access to that. But one thing I noticed was you were a mechanical engineering major. Your wife was a nursing major. How does a mechanical engineering student meet with a nursing major and then they get married? Tell me your courtship story.
Well, unlike Cedarville not being my first choice, my wife Lana was my first choice.
I
got to make sure that that's clear.
Yeah.
So at the time, actually, I hadn't really met her on campus. We were both going to a church in the Dayton area that I was involved with as a leader in our college and career class, effectively. In fact, I was leading worship. I play guitar. I lead worship, even now at the church plant we serve at. And so I was doing that, and the college pastor came up to me and said, "Hey, it'd be really great if you got some more students to get involved." And I thought, don't really want to do that because then I have to prepare, right? I can't just do it Saturday night or Sunday morning.
Right.
And, he really was insistent on that. So I said, okay, well, I should probably pray about it. And God made it very clear. Yeah, I should have more people involved in that. And that would be healthy, not just for me personally, but for our church there, the college and career group. And so we put that out, and my now wife responded. And she said, I play the piano. I've had experience, helping lead in worship bands, and would love to, get to know you and help serve the church in this way. And I thought, oh no, like a pianist, I don't have any piano music. I'm playing off of chord charts, right? I'm doing all this stuff, like I said, on Saturday night. And she said, oh, not a problem. She could read off a chord chart, could improvise, could do everything.
Oh, wow.
And she said, and I have access to the practice rooms here at Cedarville. And that was kind of how we hit it off. So we started getting together and lay out the music. We'd get together, practice for an hour, and then get together on Sundays and lead our college and career group. And over time, I think by the end of that first semester, I was convinced. I was like, "You're the one." I think it took her a little bit longer.
Okay,
but that's okay. That's a whole other story. You have to have her on to get her side of the story. But that's how we met. It was by serving together in the local church. And then certainly that, ultimately impacted our time here on campus. Yeah. Both engineering and nursing are pretty rigorous majors. And so that led to a lot of opportunities to study together, a lot of opportunities to use our skills for.
What year in school were you?
So we met as sophomores.
Okay. So then you dated for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long have you and Lana been married?
Oh, well, so that's, you're not allowed to ask those questions.
Well, this should come really easily, Joe.
18 years, going on 19 this year in September.
Okay.
So
let's move, because we have a lot to talk about. I want to talk about aerospace and innovation right now. So after graduation, you ultimately went to work for the United States Air Force. You worked on everything from rocket combustion to gas turbine engines. What excites you when you think about those things, which are rocket science to me? What excites you most about the future of aerospace innovation today?
Yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. Frankly, we're living in an era right now that is science fiction almost.
It seems
becoming
that way.
Reality. And I think what actually excites me the most, I love technology.
Okay.
Absolutely love technology. But what excites me about aerospace engineering and the aerospace industry is actually not the technology. It's the questions that are being asked by those across the world, really, and the potential solutions that aerospace has to that. So when we think about, we do this with our student groups here at Cedarville. We're doing watch parties to watch the SpaceX Starship launches. And this is phenomenal, right? They're going up. They're then catching the boosters as they come back. This is science fiction. We think about the connectivity that many companies are creating through satellite communications, where you can be anywhere in the world now and have basically instant communication due to satellite internet and things like that. But what excites me is not just that technology. It's really answering questions about how do we communicate with those around the world?
Yeah.
How do we potentially go to other planets? What does that mean? I mean, we hear about colonizing Mars and other things. Right. These are really exciting questions that the Bible speaks to. They're not technology questions first and foremost. They're questions about who are we as humans?
Sure.
They're questions about, frankly, what role does science and technology play in our lives? And I think that's what really excites me, is that we have an opportunity as Christ-centered engineers to start to have answers to that, solutions to that, but ones that might look very different than what the rest of the world sees. I think about logistics. Love some of the work being done by humanitarian organizations and others that are using aerospace engineering technology to be able to deliver supplies, in times of distress. Yeah. And so those are the types of things I think that excite me the most. It's the opportunity to use our technology in a way and to develop technology that allows us to love the world the way Christ loves us, that allows us to, think about the future and frankly, to push back that no, science and technology is not our savior. Christ is our savior, right. But we can use this to connect and to continue to glorify him through our engineering.
With the technology, with aerospace moving so rapidly, how do you stay up to speed with what's going on in the world? That's daunting.
It is. It's incredibly difficult. The innovations that are going on, frankly, through some of the professional organizations, some of which we have student sections for on campus here, really that is how staying involved with the professional societies. That's been one way to stay involved. The other is through staying involved with the Air Force Research Labs, Air Force Material Command. We've had a number of partnerships recently that Cedarville actually has even, agreed or have created agreements that we might be able to work with subject matter experts across the Department of the Air Force and elsewhere to make sure we're staying up to date, make sure we're staying involved, that we understand what the technological challenges are, that we can now produce engineers who have the skill sets to allow us to do that. But the relationships, it's staying involved. It's making sure we're studying the literature, staying up to date in our scholarship. And that's one of the exciting things about being here at Cedarville now, the second time as a faculty member, is my ability to engage in that conversation, not just within the walls of Cedarville on campus, but really across the nation with this conversation that's going on in the aerospace industry. Right.
So when you think of all the breakthroughs that have taken place in your lifetime in this realm, is there a breakthrough that comes to mind? I'm kind of put you on the spot here. Is there a breakthrough that maybe we don't really appreciate fully?
That's a great question. So I think there's a couple different things that will probably over the rest of our lifetimes, we'll see this become more and more common. I think two things that really are critical from the aerospace side. I think AI certainly is a big one, but I won't touch that one here. I think one is the cost of space launch, meaning we now have that has dropped so dramatically that you can now get things into space at a fraction of the cost that you used to be able to. So why that's important is that's enabling things like satellite communications that are now ubiquitous across the globe. And that now enables information to be shared quickly. That allows us to know, frankly, what's going on anywhere in the world, basically.
At any moment.
At any moment, right? We think about like Google Earth, right? And I can look around and, there's other satellite providers now that you can get satellite imagery commercially. And to me, those technologies, the ability to now reuse your launch vehicles, the ability for you to quickly and cheaply get things to space is having a huge impact on the way that we communicate with one another, the way that information is shared. And I think long-term, that's going to have a dramatic influence and impact on not just the world, but really our cultures and how we're continuing to develop. And that really comes back to some of these technological advances in rocket science, and the ability to control that and to, do things that even 10 years ago would have been thought impossible. Yeah.
I'm so thankful that we have people in our country like yourself and many others who love this part because it really helps. It kind of, in a way, it improves our quality of living, but there's also another edge where maybe it's not a great thing because it causes us to spend too much time on things we shouldn't be spending time on. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think, we could spend a lot of time talking about transhumanism.
Yeah.
And, this idea that the future of humanity will be saved through science and technology. And I think, technology, when it's designed, we're putting some characteristic into it, and we're valuing some more than others. And so I think we as Christian engineers, as Christ-centered engineers, really need to be aware of, as we develop this technology, we're developing it in such a way that it will amplify God's glory, that it would lead people to use it in appropriate ways, or are we doing it in ways that are, frankly, maybe not glorifying to God?
Yeah.
And so we need to be aware of that, and we need to be aware of the impact that it's going to have on others. Is it reflecting God's love for others?
Yeah,
and will they be able to will that technology be used in a way, not that we control how it's used entirely, but are we thinking about that as we develop it? Are we thinking about that as as our students, as our grads, as we here as faculty get engaged in these different industries? And so it's an awesome opportunity, absolutely awesome opportunity, especially in the aerospace industry at this time.
So before you joined the faculty here at Cedarville in January, you helped secure an initiative, which I think you just alluded to it a few minutes ago, but you helped a partnership between Cedarville and the Air Force Material Command Engineering Directorate. How did that come about, and what was the purpose of that partnership, and how would that benefit not just our students, but benefit Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and our country?
Yeah, this is one of the most exciting things. And what's so cool about it is that it really got kicked off and I had nothing to do with it. And I love those things because it keeps me humble, right? It keeps me going, it's not about me. It's not about me at all.
Yeah.
So I walked in and it came over. It was an adjunct in the fall semester.
Right.
Came on full-time here in January. And really the work had already been done to start setting it up through the Air Force Material Command, through groups like Career Services here, School of Engineering, Computer Science, through I think Advancement and some others as well. Really had done all of the work to start this partnership agreement. It's an education partnership agreement, and benefits go both ways. So on the one hand, it's fantastic because we have access to Air Force civilian and military members who are subject matter experts in the aerospace sciences and industry. And they're actually coming over. They're on campus. We have folks who come on campus and work with our seniors in mechanical engineering and others, really teaching them not just about a specific discipline, but how do you manage products and projects? How do you technically make decisions in a way that is consistent with a systems view or a missional view of what's trying to be accomplished? And they're providing that. And we have some senior leaders, some folks that are very high up in the Department of Defense and in the Department of the Air Force who take time through this partnership to come and work with our students. And so there's a huge value for the faculty here, for the students as a part of that. On the other hand, the reason, frankly, that they want to partner with Cedarville is because our students are fantastic. Our grads are prepared, both technically, but they have integrity. And that's what we hear over and over and over again, is that they have the integrity coupled with that excellence in their technical disciplines that's required, that really any employer wants. And so when they see it, I think, as a workforce development opportunity where our students can now understand the missions and what they're doing. I would call it long-term goals and objectives of protecting life. And they say, so how do we do this well? Well, we need students like Cedarville grads who can now come over and join through either civilian or other opportunities to make a difference. And
there's not a lot of these partnerships for this initiative. Is that correct?
No, at the time, there were 2 or 3 maybe. And so Cedarville was kind of hand-selected early on, both one, because of our proximity, and I think most importantly, because of the excellence of our alumni and graduates who are already making a difference throughout the Department of the Air Force.
Yeah. So when you think back to your Air Force career, which spanned almost a decade, right? Anything come to mind that you're most proud of, that you were able to work on or lead or assist?
Yeah, there are a couple different things. So I spent, I was first came on as a civilian employee for the Department of the Air Force back in 2002 through a summer internship program. Okay. And so it's been over 20 years that I've had some engagement with the Air Force as a civilian employee. And And so through that time, it had a lot of different opportunities. A couple that come to mind, I think two that come to mind specifically. One, had an opportunity to work on the F-22 and actually do some work with their gas turbine engine, so their jet engine.
What's the F-22?
So F-22 would be a high-performance fighter aircraft that the Air Force has. It's a phenomenal aircraft in terms of its agility, and it's specifically the jet engine, the power plant there is a phenomenal, kind of one of a kind. And so I had an opportunity actually as a recent Cedarville grad to go work for the Air Force Research Labs and do some work that ultimately ended up changing some of the bill of material hardware that's on that engine today. And it was really, really an exciting time for me, having just come out of Cedarville, to be able to put to use what I had learned here, to work with program leadership. So you're talking colonels and generals on a regular basis, and work with industry to help solve some problems and to apply some solutions to that. And so I'd always said I wanted to work on something that would be flying. And so right there out of my undergrad was able to do that. Right. So I was really proud of that because I had an opportunity to really impact something that, frankly, protects our nation. And that's exciting to me.
So is the F-22 kind of like a fighter jet, or how do we use that plane in our fleet?
Yeah, so it's primarily used as as a air dominance fighter. So it's used to protect, let's say, other logistical capabilities that the Air Force has, and would be used in the case of us having to go to war, which I think we all agree we would prefer not to have to use these things,
right?
But would be used as an opportunity to make sure that we can protect and defend our assets.
Okay. So as our listeners and viewers can understand by now, you've had a great career with the Air Force, whether civilian or Air Force employee, militarily. Why would you want to leave that to come back to Cedarville to teach? Which I'm glad you did.
I appreciate that you're glad I'm here.
Yeah, I want to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah. So I think that's a great question, because I was sitting a year ago, maybe the work I was able to do on the engine for the F-22 is phenomenal. But over the next 20 years after that, I was able to work up through some other experiences and ended up as the chief engineer of a rather large division and program, doing work that was frankly science fiction almost. Okay. And as I sat there as this chief engineer, working in a division, we had about 100 scientists and engineers, just doing some incredible work. And I had a chance to not only help develop those engineers, had a chance to really chart the vector of where we were going as a division, where we should be going from a technology perspective. And I was sitting there thinking, man, I spent 20 years of my career getting to this point. I really love this job. I really love being, helping really serve the scientists and engineers in that program and make sure we're moving in the right direction. Had no desire to leave at all. And I got two calls, is what I say. I got a call from Dr. Bob Chasnoff, who's the dean of the School of Engineering and Computer Science, and then clearly also a call from God, which was, hey, I know you're where you want to be, but have you considered coming back to Cedarville? Have you considered really training up the next generation of Christ-centered engineers? And it didn't happen overnight. I'd been over the last few years really thinking about that. When you think about bringing different technologies together to work as a system, to achieve an objective, to meet some sort of a mission need, you start realizing that many times the limiting factor is not the technology, it's getting people to work together.
Sure.
It's getting people who are trained appropriately, who can communicate well, who can have the skills that are needed. And so that had been in my mind. And then when this opportunity became available, that really kind of opened that door to say, well, I could do that. I could start training the next generation, and we could do that at the undergraduate level.
Yeah.
And our grads go everywhere. And so the ability to impact and have that impact spread, right? To be able to set a framework and a foundation for how you can be a Christ-centered engineer, how you can use that in the aerospace industry or many other industries, automotive industry, biomedical, other places. It was just really enticing, and clearly God calling me to come back here.
So the Lord really took you from a pivotal point in your career to one of greater influence and helping the big picture grow even larger. Is that Fair to say?
I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah. And it's, the influence looks different. The influence definitely looks different.
And it's longer. It'll take longer, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think what's so cool about that is that, I'd always thought, I'd love to teach at some point. And at the same time, though, it was always 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. I'll do it later. And I don't want to say it wasn't my first choice, but I was pretty content with where I was. And it's so cool to see how God says, now's the time. Yeah. I'm going to open this door. It's not going to be anything that you've done, Joe. This is going to be an opportunity that I want you to step into and have that, really that posterity, the long-term, how are we training up the next generation? Yeah. And that's what's so exciting.
Yeah. That's great. So you weren't here very long as a faculty member when you were awarded a aerospace award from the Dayton Business Journal. First of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What does receiving the 2025 Aerospace and Defense Award mean to you, knowing that you worked on base and now you work here at Cedarville?
Frankly, first and foremost, it's humbling. Yeah. Looking at the individuals that have been awarded this award, even the individuals that were there and being honored, including some of our senators and others, to see my name amongst some of those is frankly humbling. And as I said at the beginning, the story is really not about me. It's about colleagues that I've had at the Air Force Research Labs who have given me the opportunity and supported my career growth, who have trusted me or given me responsibilities to lead when maybe, I don't want to say maybe they shouldn't have, but maybe I still had quite a bit to learn in those areas. And then coming here to Cedarville, I think the support from faculty and staff and administration and the students and really the alumni base that we have has been phenomenal. And so I really think it's a testament to the networks that we have and that I've been able to work, colleagues I've been able to work with over the last decade and a half in this area. But it's also exciting. I mean, it's exciting to see work being recognized. It's exciting to see that, specifically Cedarville's work in the aerospace area. Right. And we don't have an aerospace engineering program, but a lot of our students go into the aerospace industry. It's really exciting to see that recognized.
So given that we are so close to right path, is there any conversation, any thought of someday having an aerospace engineering program?
There's absolutely conversation on it. Yeah.
Is there?
We haven't gone down that path yet. I think what we're looking at right now is how do we continue to provide opportunities for those students, specifically in mechanical engineering, but also in others, electrical engineering and others who are interested in the aerospace industry. How do we connect them with good internships? How do we connect them through our education partnership agreement to opportunities at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, just 30 minutes away, whether that's the Air Force Research Labs, the Life Cycle Management Center, or others. But I very much hope that we will continue to develop in that area because there's so much opportunity, like I said, to address some really big questions about how we connect together in our society and how we, frankly, continue to protect and defend life through the aerospace industry.
Yeah, and I think our engineering program is solid. And for those watching or listening who are interested in engineering, I'd encourage them to go to our website, cedarville.edu, and check out our engineering program. You'll be really impressed, and maybe you'll find that Cedarville is where you should study and learn under guys like Dr. Joe Miller. So when you think of your students, Joe, what are your hopes that they take away from your lectures, from your instruction, from your mentoring, that not only will help them professionally, but help them personally?
Yeah. So I hope that that we are providing good technical discipline, that we're providing, training in that area that, and I truly believe we are, that they will be top-notch engineers. They'll know how to solve problems and critically think. But I tell them in class, frankly, if they remember nothing else, I hope they remember this simple thing, is that ultimately the gospel is what's most important. That we were created to love God and to glorify him, yet we were all like sheep and we walked our own way. That we've all fallen short of the glory of God, but that Christ humbled himself and became man and lived the life that we couldn't live in perfect obedience to the Father. That he died the death we deserved. The wages of our sin is death. Right. But that he raised from the dead on the third day and defeated the enemy we couldn't defeat, sin and death, and that God's exalted him to a name that's above to a position and given a name that's above every name, and that all creation, every tongue will confess that he is Lord to the glory of God the Father. And I hope that is what they remember, because I don't want them to just put on the gospel or put on Christianity to being an engineer or being whoever they are. That is the core of who they are. Galatians 2:20, I'm crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. Life I live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. And that is at the core. And so when I teach, when I am out doing whatever I might be doing in the summers, working with other small businesses or with the government, anytime I'm an engineer, or anytime I'm doing anything, even working with a church plant or what we're doing, I look at it as, how is the gospel impacting that? And am I orienting myself towards God's glory? Am I bringing him glory through what I'm doing as an engineer? And I hope my students see that as well. I hope that they bring God glory through their engineering. Yeah. Are they resting on the word of God? That's the Bible as their only source of truth, but God was fully revealed in Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And then ultimately being directed and empowered by the Holy Spirit. And I think that, to me, that is the most important thing that they can come away with. And that is the foundation for any of the technical disciplines in engineering that we teach here at Cedarville, because they can always fall back and rely on what they know to be true through the gospel, what they know to be true in the word of God. And that will impact their engineering purposes. That will impact the way that they act as an engineer, the way that they serve God with their minds and with their actions.
And that's what sets Cedarville apart from almost any other school offering engineering, or whether it's engineering, whether it's business, it doesn't really matter the discipline. That's who we are. That's our core. That's our mission. That's what we believe.
Absolutely.
So how does a student, or how do you envision a student glorify God through their technical engineering profession? How do they do that? Yeah,
that's great, because that's the question students ask me all the time. Right, practically speaking, right? It's great to think about we get wonderful theological education here at Cedarville, but how do I actually integrate that and put that into practice where the rubber meets the road? So I would offer a couple, I think, specifics. One is excellence in what you do. Okay. Excellence in what you do. Are you working for God, or are you working for man? Yeah. And so if I'm working for God, and I look at the way that God frankly loves creation, the way he loves people, the way he loves me, and I seek to reflect that same love, and I seek to love others as Christ has loved me, well, that means that when I do engineering design, or when I'm frankly maybe doing a calculation to support someone else, I should be doing it in a way that is showing God's love for me and his creativity. And I'm saying, I want to be a good steward of these resources as well, whether those gifts I've been given, whether that's financial resources, whether that's engineering resources. And so that's a very practical way to do it, is through the excellence. And that's what we train students to do here, is to be excellent in that. Yeah.
It takes me back to a very famous phrase of Dr. Paul Dixon, quality stamped all over it. That is a great way to show that we are doing our work not as unto man, but as unto the Lord. And that should always be a goal of ours, what we strive after. So, Joe, our time is up, but I want to leave with one final question. And that is, when you, as a relatively newcomer to the faculty, what's the future? What do you see the future of Cedarville's engineering program looking like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? What do you see?
That's a loaded question, Mark.
The last one.
There is so much opportunity. God has just been blessing Cedarville University and blessing the School of Engineering and Computer Science. I am so incredibly excited to work with so many students who are coming here. And they're coming here because of the unique aspects that we've talked about today. Right. And to me, what does that future look like? It looks like us to continuing to steward well the resources, the legacy that really those who have come before me, faculty that I had when I was a student who are still here, some of them, some of them retired, but the legacy that they've built. And I think that's what's so exciting as we look towards the future, is his ability to continue to steward that well, but also to start to meet students who maybe traditionally wouldn't have come to Cedarville and to equip them to step out and to be Christ-centered engineers, right? Not engineers who happen to be Christians, but Christ-centered engineers. And that's what excites me more than anything. I hope that, we're standing here in 5 years and we're talking about mechanical and aerospace engineering alongside many of the other engineering and computer science programs that we have here at Cedarville. I don't know what that looks like entirely.
Sure.
I do know that I seek to glorify God in everything I do. I know our faculty seeks to do that. And my prayers, our students continue to do that.
The future is bright at Cedarville because of Jesus.
That's right.
So, Dr. Joe Miller, thank you for coming in the studio again today and talking about engineering, your life, your career. It was a joy to get to know you a little bit better. For those watching and listening, again, if you have an interest in engineering of any kind, I really encourage you to go to Cedarville's website, cedarville.edu, and check out our engineering program and just see if it's a fit for you. And if it is, come for a visit, and we'd love to meet you here. Joe, thanks again for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you. It's been a joy.
Thank you for listening to the Cedarville Stories Podcast, brought to you by Cedarville University. Be sure to come back next week when we'll share another Cedarville story for God's glory.